Good morning, students. In the today class, we are going to start the second lesson, that is motion. What does it mean by motion? Motion means any one thing it will be moving by applying force or without applying the force. That the thing it will be moving from one point to another point, the motion will be calculated. So motion means not only the rest position, that the object not in rest position, it will be moving into one side to another one side. Okay. So explain this motion part by using distance, displacement, speed, velocity, and then few more and more terms. It will be understand this topic, and then it will be easily learn how will you the object will be moving. Okay. So first enter this topic. First you should learn state of rest and motion. What's the meaning that state of rest and motion? So you have to analyze in this particular place what the object will be moving, what the object will be in a rest position. So it will be moving, I am moving in this place from one side to another one side, okay, to explain some topics. But board is not moving, okay. So one object will be in a stable position, that is the object it will be in a continuous state of rest position. But one object will be moving one place to another position, the object will be in a motion position, okay. ஒரு திங் ஒரே இடத்துல இருந்துச்சுன்னா அது ரெஸ்ட்டில் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். பட் அதுக்கு ஒரு ஃபோர்ஸை கொடுத்து நம்ம மூவ் பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னா அது மூவிங்கில் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். தட் இஸ் கால்ட் மோஷன். ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் யூ ஷுட் லேர்ன் ஸ்டேட் ஆஃப் ரெஸ்ட் அண்ட் மோஷன். ஸோ யூ ஹேவ் டு மென்ஷன் த what are the object will be in a rest from your surroundings and what are the object will be in a moving in your surroundings. So you have to note down in your note. Okay, you should note down what are the object will be in a rest position, what are the object will be in a moving position in your surroundings. Clear? Okay, next we will go for the types of motion. What are the types of motion? Or object move ஆகுதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டோம், என்னென்ன வேலையெல்லாம் மூவ் ஆகும். So what are the types of motion? Types of motion. So first one is linear motion. Linear. What's the meaning that linear? Or one object will be moving in a straight line as a one direction. So one object will be linearly moving, that is motion is called linear motion. ஒரே ஸ்ட்ரைட் லைனாக ஒரு ஆப்ஜெக்ட் போகுதுன்னா தட் இஸ் கால்ட் லீனியர் மோஷன். அண்ட் செகண்ட் ஒன் இஸ் circular motion. Circular motion. What's the meaning that circular motion? I am moving in a circularly, I am moving in this place, that is called circular motion. One object on the moving part to make a circle, that is called circular motion. And third one is oscillatory motion. What's the meaning that oscillatory motion? Oscillatory motion means to and fro motion. To and fro motion means one thing, it will be first start from one position and after moving it will be reach at the second position, and after that it will be moving to the original position. So to and fro motion is called, that is oscillatory motion. Is a very good example is the pendulum in a clock. Okay, so that is the to and fro motion, it will be called as a oscillatory motion. And third one, that is a uniform motion. Uniform motion, and I will explain the later. And fifth one is random motion. Random motion means the object will be moving randomly, no further about to the direction, no further about their straight line path or anything. So one object move ஆகுது, இந்த 4 கேட்டகரி சேராமல் மூவ் ஆகுதுன்னா அது it is called random motion. So what is linear motion, circular motion, oscillatory motion, uniform motion and random motion. Next I will come to uniform motion. What's the meaning that uniform motion? Uniform motion means one thing will covers equal distance in equal time. What's the meaning that equal distance in equal time? First I will go to my home from our school to my home. Okay, first 5 minutes I cover a 5 kilometer. Next 5 minutes I cover the 10 kilometers. Next 5 minutes I cover the 20 kilometers. So 5 kilometers it will be increased with increasing time. Okay, so regularly the distance it will be increases with respect of time, that is called uniform motion. One object it will be moving in a constant motion, it is called uniform motion. But another one form is there. One is non-uniform motion, one is a perfect uniform motion, and another one is non-uniform motion. What is that? Non-uniform motion, perfect uniform motion and non-uniform motion. So non-uniform motion means it covers unequal distances and unequal time. வேறு வேறு டைமில் வேறு வேறு டிஸ்டன்ஸ் அது கவர் பண்ணியிருக்குன்னா that is non uniform motion. So the all other types of motion, first one is linear motion, second one is circular motion, third one is oscillatory motion, fourth one is uniform motion, fifth one is a random motion. Okay, இந்த எந்த மோஷன்லையும் அடங்காமல் இருக்கக்கூடிய மோஷன் தான் random motion. So I explained that also that uniform and non-uniform. Uniform means one object covers equal distance with equal intervals of time. Non-uniform motion means it covers unequal distance in unequal difference of time, unequal intervals of time. But all other types of motion. Before I enter to explain that uniform motion and non-uniform motion, first I will explain some important terms, that is distance, displacement, speed, velocity. There are a few terms, acceleration and something like that. First I explain distance. What is distance? Distance is nothing but the path travelled, the path will be covered by the object. So distance and displacement. Distance and displacement. What is distance? Distance is nothing but actual path is covered by a particle. ஒரு பார்ட்டிகளால் எவ்வளோ பாத் கவர் ஆகிருக்கோ அதுக்கு பேர் தான் என்னது distance. What is by displacement? Displacement is distance between the initial and final position of a particle. For example, I move this point to that point. Okay, I will move this point to third point. I cover various distances and it will be reached at that point. So I move that this way and I cover first distance and I cover the second distance and cover the last distance. So the actual path is travelled by the particle. It will be calculated from that point to second point and third point and fourth point, and then I will reach the last point. So that is the whole distance is calculated. It will be mentioned as distance. But the distance between the initial position and final position only mention that displacement. I explained and I will give one example. One object will be moving A2, it will be covers first, it will be covers second, it will be covers third, it will be covers last and will reach the point B. Okay, that the whole distance will be mentioned the distance is covered by a particle, that is the distance. But the distance between the initial and final position of the particle is called displacement. Okay, then so the actual path is covered by a particle is distance, and the distance between the 2 points will be called as displacement. And distance is a scalar quantity. Distance is a scalar quantity, but displacement is a vector quantity. Why? Distance is a scalar quantity means it possesses magnitude only. Distance நீங்கள் மென்ஷன் பண்ணிங்கன்னா ஒன்லி எவ்வளோ டிஸ்டன்ஸ் வந்து கவர் ஆகிருக்கு மட்டும்தான் நம்ம பார்ப்போம். பட் டிஸ்பிளேஸ்மெண்ட் ஸோ ஆல்சோ மென்ஷன் தட் வேல்யூ அண்ட் த டைரக்ஷன். ஸோ ஒன் திங் இட் வில் பி மூவிங் ஃப்ரம் ஒன் பாயிண்ட் டு another point. You will mention the displacement along the direction of that the thing will be moving in the which direction. It will also mention in the displacement. So displacement is a vector quantity. It possesses displacement will be possess the magnitude only, but displacement will be possess magnitude and direction. Magnitude and direction. Okay, so what is the difference between distance and displacement? Actual path covered by a particle is distance. The distance between the two particles, two position is called displacement, and distance is a scalar quantity, displacement is a vector quantity. Distance only possesses a magnitude only, and displacement it will be possess magnitude and direction of that object. Okay, that is the distance and displacement relation. Okay, and the next one is what is speed, what is velocity. What is speed, what is velocity? What is speed, what is velocity? I will give one example to explain that topic, that is speed and velocity. One car will be moving so one side to another one side. You just mention the what the speed that the car will be moving. You have to mention that the speed only mentioned in that first part. Second part, the car will be moving having some velocity, but the car moving in the north to west direction. Also I explain this velocity. So speed is speed s is equal to distance by time. Speed v is equal to or s is equal to distance by time. So distance covered by the particle by time, that is speed, and velocity is rate of change of displacement per time. So what is that? Rate of change of displacement per time. Rate of change of distance by time, rate of change of displacement per time. Okay, and second is both the units is meter per second. Okay, velocity and speed is also having the SI unit is meter per second. And third one, speed and velocity. Speed always having the positive value. Speed only in moving in a one direction, so it will be the answer is positive. Positive only. Speed is just mention the positive value only. But velocity will be mentioned positive, negative, and 0. What's the value of positive? When the velocity will be positive, when the velocity is negative, when the velocity is 0. So one object will be moving in the perfect direction, in a forward direction, the velocity it will be positive. Straight line ஒரே directionல போயிட்டு இருக்கு அப்படினா the velocity to be positive. But in opposite direction the velocity it will be negative. Opposite direction the velocity will be negative. But the one object will be falling from one point to another point, it will be reach the highest position, the velocity to be 0. So the moving velocity is having positive and negative and 0 values also. Okay, so skip speed only have the positive value, but velocity will be having positive, negative and 0 value. And next one is acceleration. Okay, what's the formula for acceleration? So first you will learn thoroughly what are the difference between speed and velocity. What is speed? That is the rate of change of distance by time. What is velocity? Rate of change of displacement per time. What's the unit of speed? That is a meter per second. What's the unit of velocity? That is a meter per second. What are the values in the speed? That is positive only, because that the object will be moving in a positive direction, but velocity will be positive, negative and 0. Okay, but another one point is speed is a scalar quantity, because it will be possess only the magnitude only, but velocity is a vector quantity, it will be possess magnitude and the direction also. So that are the difference between the speed and velocity. You must learn that question is a very very important detail. That is the difference between the velocity and speed. And next, acceleration. What is meant by acceleration? Acceleration means rate of change of velocity by time. How will you denote the acceleration? That is A, rate of change of displacement per time. So rate of change of velocity by time. So tell V by T. So final velocity minus initial velocity by time. So acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity by time. One particle first it will be moving at some velocity. After the particular time, that object also have some final velocity. So rate of change of initial velocity, final velocity minus initial velocity by time, that is called acceleration. When the acceleration is positive, when the acceleration is negative. So first V value will be greater than U. Final velocity is greater than U. Final velocity will be greater than U. Velocity increases and also acceleration is increases. Okay, but V is less than U. Final velocity, initial velocity will come here. Velocity is decreases and acceleration also decreases. That is positive acceleration, that is negative acceleration. Negative acceleration is also known as retardation or deceleration. Okay, negative acceleration is also known as retardation or deceleration. That the term it will be very very important. I frequently ask in the 2 mark, what is the retardation, what is the negative deceleration. Negative deceleration means velocity decreases, automatically the acceleration to be decreases. When final velocity will be less than the initial velocity, the negative acceleration will be coming, that is called deceleration and retardation. And when will the acceleration it will be 0, initial velocity will be equal to final velocity. Suppose that the object will be moving in a constant velocity, the acceleration to be 0. So it will be the same, both the same value, the acceleration is to be 0. So one object constant speed le போயிட்டு இருக்குன்னு வெச்சுக்கோங்களேன், அதோட acceleration produce ஆகாது. ரெண்டு velocityக்கும் changes வரும்போது மட்டும் தான் acceleration produce ஆகும். Okay, so acceleration is V is equal to U, the acceleration to be 0. So in this part we have learned speed, velocity and acceleration. I hope that you understood that term: distance, displacement, speed, acceleration, velocity. Okay, then now now I will explain the graphical representation of distance time graph and velocity time graph. Graphically represent the moving of object. ஒரு ஆப்ஜெக்ட் மூவ் ஆகுதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், அதை கிராஃபிக்கலாக எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுறது பேர் graphical representation of moving of an object. Okay, first I select the distance time graph. What's the meaning that distance time graph? You mention the values of distance, you mention the values of time. So one object, what are the distance will be covered in a particular time? That is called distance time graph. The two motion is there, one is uniform motion and a non-uniform motion. First I will take the uniform motion. What are the values is given, that is the time and that are the distance. Okay. So that the time, 0 time, that the object will be covered the 0 distance, and 5 minutes that the object will be covered the 500 meter, and 10 seconds the object covered the 100 meters. But the time it will be increased 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Frequently it will be increases, and as well as the distance 500, 1000 and 1500, 2000, 2500. 500 increase ஆயிருக்கு. So the object will be covers equal distance with equal time. Equal time to equal intervals cover பண்ணிருக்கு. That is called uniform motion. And then you have to plot the graph. So you take distance is x-axis, distance is an x-axis, that is distance as a time in x-axis. Time in x-axis, what are the values? Time 0, 5, 10. So 0, 5, 10, 15, 20 and 25. Okay. Then this side 500, 1000, 1500, 2000 and 2500. Okay. Okay. Now we will first you mention the scale on the right side of the graph. Scale, what is the scale value in x-axis? In x-axis 1 unit is equal to 5 minutes. 1 unit is equal to 5 minutes. Okay. In y-axis 1 unit is equal to 500 meter. Okay. Okay. Then now plot the values. 5, 500. First 0, 0, that is. Next x-axis 5, y-axis 500. So 5, 500. Okay. Then second one 10 and 1000. 10 and 1000. Third one in x-axis 15 and y-axis 1500. So 15 and 1500. And that is fourth one 20 and 2000. 20 and 2000. And 25 and 2500. Okay. So you make the straight line. Okay. You got a straight line because you got the straight line, that the object will be moving in a uniform motion. ஒருவேளை straight line தான் போகுது அப்படின்னா the object will be moving in a uniform motion. Now we take the slope in this part. We select the slope in this value. That is, it will be in x-axis. What are the distance will be covered in x-axis? What are the distances? What's the time it will be mentioned in x-axis? What the distance will be mentioned in the y-axis? A, B, C. That is, slope is equal to y by del y by del x. That is BC by AB. What's the BC value? AB. BC by AB. BC value is 1500 minus 500. Sorry, 1000. 1500 minus 1000 by AB is 15 minus 10. 15 minus 10. So 1500, 500. 15 minus 10, that is 5. That is 100. That is the slope value. So slope value is 100. How will you calculate the slope in this part? The slope it will be mentioned in this graph, and you mention the BC by slope is equal to BC del y by del x. It is BC by AB. BC is 1500, the distance between the second point to first point. 1500 by 1000 minus 1000 by AB is 15 minus 10. So 500 by 5, that is 100. So that is called distance time graph in the uniform motion. Next, what the distance time graph in non-uniform motion means, covers unequal distance in the unequal intervals of time. Wherever time to wherever distance cover பண்ணிருக்கோம். So the graph is need not taken in a straight line. Straight line உங்களுக்கு graph கிடைக்காது. It will be in a bending motion. The graph it will be get from, that is a bending. இப்படி இருக்கும். So it will be the parabolic motion, not a straight line motion. So non-uniform motion you will got only the parabolic motion, not a straight line. So distance time graph it will be easily explained that the object will be moving in a uniform motion or non-uniform motion. Uniform motion, it covers the equal distance and equal intervals of time. You got the straight line. But non-uniform motion, you got it's not getting a straight line, it will be in a parabolic motion. Okay, so parabolic motion, and then you note down the distance and time. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 in the one side, 2, 2 increase in the side 1, 3, next 5, next 7. So unequally it will be increases. So that is called non-uniform motion. So you should mention the graph, and then in the graph uniform motion got a straight line, non-uniform motion got the parabola, not a straight line. So straight line only will be present in the uniform motion. The next, velocity time graph. Okay, velocity time graph means mention the x-axis in time and y-axis is velocity. Okay, y-axis is velocity you take because sometimes the object will be moving in a uniform velocity, sometimes that the object will be moving in a non-uniform velocity. Or object uniform velocity le poitirukku vechukonga, not a uniform, constant velocity le or object poitirukku vechukonga. For example, இப்போ என்ன டைம் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க 0, 5, 10, 20, 25. You take in x-axis 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That will be in minutes. Okay. But in y-axis, you should mention the 10, 20, 30, just like that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. First, we mention the scale, that is in x-axis. In x-axis 1 unit is equal to, 1 centimeter is equal to 1 unit is equal to, that is 5 minutes. And in y-axis 1 unit is equal to, that is 10, that is velocity. So meter per second. Okay, so velocity is equal to 10 10. So 10 meter per second. Okay, first before enter this graphical representative, first mention the scale. In x-axis la enna eduthukom, y-axis la enna eduthukom, scale la mention pananum. Okay, so the uniform velocity time graph, suppose one object will be moving in a constant velocity, 10 to 20, 5 to 20, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the object will be moving in a constant velocity. Suppose we consider starting point of 5 minutes to ending of that 20 minutes, the object will be moving in a constant velocity. The area is under that constant velocity, it will be mentioned that the distance covered by the particle. Okay, so velocity by time means ஒரு நீங்கள் கிராஃப் வரைகிறீங்க, x-axis y-axis எடுத்துகிட்டு 5 மினிட்ஸ்லேருந்து 20 மினிட்ஸ் வரைக்கும் அந்த ஆப்ஜெக்ட் கான்ஸ்டன்ட் வெலாசிட்டியில் போகுதுன்னு எடுத்துக்கிட்டா, ஸோ த கான்ஸ்டன்ட் வெலாசிட்டி பிஃபோர் த moving straight line under that one area it will be covered, that the area it will denote the distance covered by a particle. How will you mention that? That is A, B, C, D. The area is a rectangle, so the area of the rectangle is equal to length and breadth. So length is 20 minus 5, 5, 10, 15, 20. So 20 minus 5, that is 15 into next side, that is area, length and breadth. So length is AB and breadth is BC. So you consider the rectangle, you calculate the area of the rectangle, that is length and breadth you have to mention. This the object moving in a constant velocity. ஒரே ஆப்ஜெக்ட்ல போகுது, ஒரே ஸ்பீடில் போகுதுன்னா இதை நம்ம நோட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Suppose that the object will be moving in a constant speed. What's the meaning that constant speed? It covers the equal distance in the equal time. ஒரே டைமில் ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் டைம் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கும், அதே நேரத்தில் வெலாசிட்டி இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கும். ஸோ இட் வில் பி காட் அன் அ ஸ்ட்ரைட் லைன். We got in a straight line. The graph will be give the straight line. This is the straight line. You mentioned that the below part of their slope, you mentioned that the distance area, one trapezium to be make that or thing or object move aguduma, it will be having a constant velocity la move aguduna, you mention that in the graph we will get the one trapezium shape. Okay, so before mention that below the straight line to got the trapezium, so mention the trapezium A, B, C, D, E. The area of the trapezium is equal to area of the trapezium area of the trapezium is equal to half into length of the parallel sides, then length of the parallel sides, length of the parallel sides, length of the parallel sides into distance between the parallel sides, distance between the parallel sides, distance between the parallel sides. What's the meaning of the distance between the parallel sides? Half into length of the parallel sides is AB and into AB plus length is AB and EC into distance between the parallel sides. This is the parallel, this is the parallel, the distance is BC. So one object will be moving in a uniform velocity, graph will be plotted, under the area it will be covered, below the straight line it will be mentioned. Moreover, the area it will be in a trapezium form. Area of trapezium is equal to half into length of the parallel sides, this length, length of the parallel sides in the distance between the two parallel sides. So length of the parallel sides is AB plus EC into distance between the parallel sides is BC. Okay, that is the area of the trapezium. We will calculate, easily mention the distance is covered by the particle. And then after also you note down the trapezium having the one triangle and one rectangle. So we mentioned the addition of area of the triangle and addition of area of the rectangle. So area it will be the distance covered by the particle is also calculated from the distance covered by the particle, the distance covered by the particle, distance covered by the particles also covered by the particles also mentioned in the format of area of the triangle, area of triangle plus area of triangle, area of triangle plus area of rectangle, area of rectangle, area of triangle plus area of rectangle, because that is the triangle, that is the rectangle. Area of the triangle is half into BH, half into breadth into height. So half into breadth into height means half into AD into height is D, that is area of the triangle plus area of the rectangle. Area of the rectangle is length into breadth. So length into breadth, length is BC and breadth is BC plus length and breadth is DE or AB, anything DE. So ஒரு கான்ஸ்டன்ட் வெலாசிட்டியில் ஒரு திங் வந்து போகுதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், அதுக்கு நம்ம மஸ்ட்டு ஸ்ட்ரைட் லைன் மேக் பண்ணோம். அந்த ஸ்ட்ரைட் லைனுக்கு கீழே இருக்கக்கூடிய ஏரியா தான் அதோடைய டிஸ்டன்ஸ் கவர்டு பை த அந்த ஏரியா தான் அது இட் வில் பி ஈக்குவல் டு டிஸ்டன்ஸ். அது எப்படி நம்ம கேல்குலேட் பண்ணுறோன்னா, டிஸ்டன்ஸுக்கு கீழே உள்ள அந்த ஏரியா it will be considered as a trapezium. You will calculate by using the area of the trapezium formula. Other than that, the trapezium having one triangle and one rectangle, you mention the addition of area of the triangle, addition of the area of the rectangle, you will calculate the distance covered by the particle. So this is the object will be moving in a uniform motion, and object will be moving in a non-uniform motion. Graph is plotted between time and distance. Time and distance. Time it will be taken as x-axis and distance will be taken as in the y-axis. But the object will be moving. The graph it will become, because the irregular motion is there, irregular velocity is there. So mention the time and mention the velocity, not a distance. Velocity, we will get the graph in the irregular shape. ஒருவேளை irregular motion அந்த ஆப்ஜெக்ட் மூவ் ஆகுதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், கிடைக்கக்கூடிய கிராஃப் வந்து என்ன செய்யும், irregular-ஆக இருக்கும். So that is the we will calculate the distance covered by the particle by using the velocity time graph. So graphical representation of motion of one object. First the graph in between the distance and time, and second the distance between the graph will be plotted between time and velocity. That the two graph will be easily explain the motion of an object. So in this class, what was learned in this class? What is mean by state of rest and motion, and what are the types of motion, and definition of distance, displacement, and difference between distance and displacement, and what is speed, what is velocity, what is acceleration, what is the uniform motion and non-uniform motion, the graphical representation of motion of an object by the way of the graph is between the velocity and time. The graph is between the velocity, distance and time. So that all are the learned in this class. So today home assignment is so learn and write the different types of motion. Learn and write the different types of motion. Home assignment. Learn and write the different types of motion. Students, don't forget to finish the homework, that is the learn and write the different types of motion. Thank you.